25. Kitchen treasures from the 1950s. In the kitchens of the 1950s, the heart of family life pulsed quietly beneath the hum of radios and the clatter of dishes. Meals were not shaped by recipes alone, but by the faithful tools that stood on countertops and shelves. These objects gleamed under soft kitchen lights, carried the promise of progress, and wrapped thrift with beauty. They were companions to the home cook, guardians of memory, and silent witnesses to countless family gatherings. Every sound, from the hiss of steam escaping a lid to the low whir of a mixer, became part of the symphony of daily life. These were not just utensils. They were emblems of tradition meeting modernity, of care meeting innovation. Step back with me now, into the kitchens of mid-century America, and rediscover 25 familiar objects that shape meals and memories alike. Pyrex glassware. The oven door opened, and warm light spilled across the room. Inside sat a Pyrex dish, its transparent walls showing layers of food rising slowly. Patterns of blue, pink, and green shimmered beneath the glow of the kitchen lamp, each design a small joy in itself. Families trusted Pyrex because it was sturdy and endlessly reusable. From casseroles to puddings, the clear glass revealed every stage of transformation, turning baking into something quietly magical. Mothers placed the dish on the table with pride, knowing it would serve again tomorrow. In the 1950s, Pyrex was more than glass. It was modern beauty placed into ordinary hands. To hold it now is to recall polished tables, the smell of butter browning in the oven, and the sparkle of kitchens ready for company. Pressure cooker. The kitchen filled with a steady hiss, sharp and rhythmic, as the pressure cooker worked on the stovetop. The sound was both thrilling and reassuring, a promise that dinner would be ready more quickly than ever before. Inside, beans softened, stews thickened, and meat surrendered to tenderness in record time. The lid clamped tightly, holding the energy of steam with impressive strength. For busy mothers, the cooker felt like an extra pair of hands, folding hours into minutes. In the 1950s, it symbolized progress and efficiency. Families tasted its results with wonder, marveling at meals once considered too time-consuming. Today, its whistle brings back memories of warm kitchens and the excitement of new technology quietly reshaping tradition. Tin storage boxes. On the counter sat tin containers, modest yet full of charm. Painted with flowers, fruits, or cheerful patterns, they guarded the household staples: flour, sugar, coffee, and sometimes cookies hidden from eager hands. The scrape of a lid opening became a familiar sound, followed by the soft rustle of a measuring scoop. Children smiled at the rattle, hoping for a sweet surprise, while mothers relied on the tins to keep ingredients fresh and safe. In those days, the tin box represented thrift and order. It was a quiet guardian of the kitchen, ensuring nothing spoiled, nothing wasted. To open one today is to hear once again the steady rhythm of family life, and to see the careful hands that made the home flourish. Stand mixer. A low hum began as the stand mixer whirred to life, beaters turning butter and sugar into frothy promise. Its enamel body gleamed, often in cheerful pastel colors, bringing both beauty and strength to the countertop. With its help, dough stretched and frosting grew smooth, transforming simple ingredients into birthday cakes, cookies, and loaves of bread. Children watched in awe, waiting to lick the beaters once the work was done. In the 1950s, the mixer stood as a symbol of liberation. It spared weary arms hours of stirring, giving mothers more energy to share elsewhere. To turn it on today is to recall the laughter around holiday baking and the sweet aroma of warm cakes rising from the oven. Toaster. The quiet morning was broken by a soft click, followed by the hiss of coils glowing red inside the toaster. Soon the golden scent of bread filled the kitchen, calling children from their rooms before the day began. The toast popped up with a cheerful spring, ready to be buttered, spread with jam, or sprinkled with cinnamon sugar. Simple as it was, the ritual felt almost magical, a small ceremony that marked the beginning of each day. For families of the 1950s, the toaster was more than convenience. It was a sign of modern living, a promise of warmth and abundance, even in the smallest of moments. To use one now is to feel again the comfort of mornings that moved at a gentler pace. Cast iron skillet. The skillet rested heavily on the stove, darkened with use yet shining faintly from years of care. When placed on the burner, it came alive with a hiss, crisping bacon or frying chicken with a steadiness no other pan could match. Meals cooked in cast iron carried a depth of flavor that lingered on the tongue. Cornbread baked golden, steak seared with a perfect crust, and potatoes sizzled until their edges turned crisp. Every dish bore the mark of the pan's patience and strength. In the 1950s, a cast iron skillet was a trusted heirloom as much as a tool. It passed from one generation to the next, seasoned not only with oil but with memory. To hold one today is to feel the weight of history in your hands. Coffee percolator. The morning began with the rhythmic bubbling of the coffee percolator on the stove. Clear glass or shiny chrome, it gurgled gently, sending the scent of roasted beans drifting through every room. Each bubble lifted the dark liquid higher, filling the house with both aroma and anticipation. Families gathered around, cups warming their hands, conversation easing into the day alongside the rising steam. For households of the 1950s, the percolator was more than a brewer. It was the center of hospitality, a ritual of welcome for neighbors, and a steady companion for early risers. To hear its gentle gurgle now is to remember mornings wrapped in comfort. Enamel pots and pans. Hanging from hooks or stacked neatly in cupboards, enamel pots gleamed in cheerful colors of red, blue, or white speckled with tiny dots. Their glossy finish reflected the kitchen light, brightening even the simplest space. On the stove they boiled soups, stewed vegetables, and simmered sauces. The clink of their lids and the soft rolling of their contents became daily music, simple and familiar. In the 1950s, enamelware brought beauty into modest kitchens. Affordable yet durable, they stood as proof that practicality and charm could live side by side. To stir a spoon in one today is to bring back the glow of mid-century kitchens alive with color. Icebox or early refrigerator. At the edge of the kitchen stood the icebox, sturdy and square, or in later years the early refrigerator with chrome handles gleaming like jewels. Its quiet hum or the drip of melting ice marked a shift in how families lived. Milk stayed cold, leftovers lasted longer, and treats like gelatin desserts or chilled salads became part of everyday life. Children often opened the door just to stare inside, marveling at the cool air and neatly arranged shelves. For families of the 1950s, the refrigerator represented more than storage. It was a leap into modern convenience, a guardian of freshness, and a promise that abundance could be preserved. To open one now is to recall the thrill of progress humming softly in the corner of every home. Rotary egg beater. On busy mornings, the rotary egg beater spun with a cheerful whir, its gears clicking as the handle turned. In seconds, eggs frothed, cream stiffened, and pancake batter smoothed beneath its spinning blades. The bright metal gleamed under the light, its simple mechanism both clever and satisfying. Children often begged for a turn, delighting in the hum of progress that felt small yet important. In the 1950s, the egg beater symbolized efficiency without extravagance. It was quick, reliable, and easy to use, embodying the spirit of kitchens where small tools made a big difference. To turn its handle today is to hear again the playful rhythm of breakfast being prepared. Bread box. On the kitchen counter sat the bread box, often made of enamel or wood, its lid rolling open with a soft glide. Inside rested loaves of white bread, wrapped in waxed paper or sliced neatly for the week's sandwiches. Each time the lid was lifted, the scent of yeast and flour drifted upward, reminding the family of morning toast and packed lunches. The bread box stood as a quiet guardian, keeping freshness longer in an age before preservatives dominated. In the 1950s, the bread box was more than storage. It was a fixture of the counter, a steady reminder of daily nourishment. To open one today is to recall the rhythm of mornings begun with butter, jam, and the simple comfort of bread. Glass milk bottles. The clink of glass bottles against one another announced the milkman's arrival. Left at the doorstep in the cool of the morning, the bottles gleamed with condensation, capped in paper tops that children loved to peel away. Poured into tall glasses or cereal bowls, the milk was fresh, cold, and wholesome. The sight of bottles lined neatly in the fridge gave families a sense of security, a promise that breakfast and supper alike would be complete. In the 1950s, glass milk bottles were symbols of trust and community. They carried the rhythm of daily deliveries, of greetings exchanged with the milkman, and of a time when even something as ordinary as milk felt personal. Butter churn. Though fading from common use, the butter churn still stood in some kitchens, a reminder of earlier traditions. Its wooden handle rose and fell, steady and rhythmic, as cream slowly transformed into golden butter. Children often took turns pushing the dasher, their laughter mixing with the sound of cream thickening. The moment butter appeared was both magic and reward, spread generously on warm bread from the oven. By the 1950s, the churn was less necessity and more memory, yet it remained a symbol of thrift and self-reliance. To glimpse one now is to see the persistence of tradition in a decade racing toward modernity. Chrome canisters. Shining beneath the kitchen light, chrome canisters brought sleek elegance to the countertop. Marked with neat labels, flour, sugar, coffee, tea, they gleamed like small jewels of order and progress. Their polished surfaces reflected the room around them, while inside they guarded staples with quiet dignity. Opening a lid released the scent of sweetness or the earthy aroma of ground coffee, small reminders of daily ritual. In the 1950s, chrome canisters were more than practical. They represented the polished modern kitchen, stylish yet useful, durable yet chic. To see them today is to recall a time when design and function met in perfect harmony. Rolling pin. On baking days, the rolling pin tapped against the countertop, smoothing dough into flat circles or thin sheets. Its wooden handles turned steadily under careful hands, while flour dusted the air like a soft cloud. Cookies, pies, and biscuits all began here, pressed into shape with patience and rhythm. Children leaned close, waiting to cut shapes with tin cutters, their excitement rising alongside the sweet aroma from the oven. In the 1950s, the rolling pin was more than a tool. It was a symbol of homemade care, of hours spent preparing not just food, but comfort. To hold one now is to feel again the steady pulse of tradition, passed down through hands that worked with love. Flour sifter. The flour sifter sat light in the hands, a metal cup with a crank or squeeze handle that sent flour falling like soft snow. With each turn, a gentle hiss filled the kitchen as clumps gave way to powder as fine as air. Cakes rose fluffier, biscuits baked lighter, and pie crust turned tender under its touch. Children often begged to help, watching in delight as white clouds drifted over the counter. In the 1950s, the flour sifter was both necessity and ritual. It stood for care, for the extra step that turned ordinary baking into something special. To use one now is to recall the quiet joy of preparation, when patience itself flavored the food. Kitchen timer. On the counter sat a small timer, often shaped like an egg or a sturdy little cube. With a firm twist, the gears inside ticked steadily, counting down toward the ringing bell. The sound was constant and reassuring, a reminder that bread was rising, cookies were crisping, or stew was simmering just long enough. When the bell chimed, it called the family to attention, pulling them back to the stove with anticipation. In the 1950s, the kitchen timer was a small but faithful companion. It allowed cooks to trust the passing of time, balancing other tasks while the meal took care of itself. Its cheerful ring remains an echo of kitchens, where order and warmth worked hand in hand. Cookie cutters. On baking days, tin cookie cutters came out from their drawer, each shaped like stars, hearts, animals, or bells for the holidays. Pressed into rolled dough, they left behind little figures waiting to be baked golden. Children leaned close, dusted with flour, eager to lift each shape and line it neatly on the tray. The kitchen filled with the smell of sugar and spice, the sound of laughter rising alongside the clatter of pans. In the 1950s, Cookie cutters were symbols of joy and celebration. They transformed ordinary dough into memories, linking holidays, birthdays, and family gatherings together. To hold one now is to feel again the magic of anticipation sweetening the air. Mason jars. Lined neatly on shelves, mason jars stood clear and proud, filled with jams, pickles, or tomatoes preserved for the seasons ahead. Their glass caught the sunlight, glowing with reds, greens, and golds, like jewels of the pantry. The pop of a lid opening brought satisfaction, proof that weeks of work and care had been sealed within. Meals became richer with these additions, carrying the taste of summer into winter nights. For families of the 1950s, mason jars were more than containers. They were the essence of thrift and self-reliance, symbols of a household's dedication to making the most of every harvest. To see one now is to recall rows of shelves gleaming with abundance, carefully saved for tomorrow. Potato masher. In the steady grip of a hand, the potato masher pressed down into steaming bowls, turning firm chunks into creamy softness. Each push brought a hiss of steam and the comforting scent of butter and milk. Mashed potatoes, smooth or lumpy depending on preference, stood proudly on the dinner table beside roasts and stews. The masher's simple design made it reliable, a tool that always did its work without fuss. In the 1950s, the potato masher was a symbol of simplicity. It turned humble ingredients into family comfort, proof that satisfaction did not need to be elaborate. To hold one today is to hear again the scrape of metal on enamel bowls and to feel the nearness of supper shared. Wooden spoons. Resting in a ceramic jar or hanging from hooks, wooden spoons were always close at hand. Their smooth handles darkened with use, and each carried the quiet history of countless meals stirred with care. They moved gently through soups, sauces, and stews, never scratching enamel or clattering like metal. Children often chewed on the handles while helping in the kitchen, proof that these spoons lived as part of family life. In the 1950s, wooden spoons were trusted companions. They symbolized durability and simplicity, serving faithfully for years without complaint. To hold one today is to feel again the rhythm of stirring and the patience of hands that worked with love. Meat grinder. Clamped firmly to the edge of the counter, the hand-cranked meat grinder turned scraps of beef or pork into fresh ground meat. Its heavy gears turned with steady resistance, each rotation accompanied by the satisfying press of food moving forward. The grinder made meatloaf, sausages, and burgers feel both fresh and resourceful. Families knew exactly what went into their meals, and the effort itself became part of the satisfaction. For households of the 1950s, the grinder was thrift and ingenuity made visible. It proved that nothing needed to be wasted, that every part could be transformed. To turn one now is to recall the sound of metal on metal and the pride of food prepared with purpose. Colander. Perched in the sink, the colander rattled softly as boiling water poured through it, steam rising in fragrant clouds. Pasta, potatoes, or vegetables tumbled into its embrace, leaving behind a shimmer of heat and freshness. Its perforated metal gleamed under the kitchen light, both humble and indispensable. Children watched curiously as their dinner drained, their excitement growing as the colander was carried to the table. In the 1950s, the colander was more than a strainer. It was a quiet stage where meals paused between preparation and serving. To lift one today is to remember the scent of boiling pasta, the steam that fogged kitchen windows, and the anticipation of a meal nearly ready. Dish rack. Beside the sink, the dish rack stood ready, catching the day's plates, cups, and silverware as they dripped dry. Water sparkled on the enamel tray beneath, while sunlight from the window turned the scene almost peaceful. Washing dishes was often a family affair. One washed, another rinsed, and a child dried carefully with a cloth. The rack held the rhythm of this teamwork, standing as a quiet witness to small conversations and gentle laughter. In the 1950s, the dish rack was more than convenience. It was part of the ritual that closed each meal, marking the day's end with patience and care. To see one now is to recall the sound of clinking dishes and the comfort of shared routine. Apron. Hanging on the back of a chair or tied around a waist, the apron was the uniform of the kitchen. Cotton prints of flowers or checks brightened the fabric, while pockets carried spoons, recipes, or a handkerchief. Its surface bore the story of the day's work: a smear of flour, a drip of sauce, a dusting of sugar. Yet to wear it was to feel a sense of pride, a signal that care was being given not only to food, but to family. In the 1950s, the apron was more than protection. It was a symbol of devotion, of homemaking seen as both labor and love. To slip one on today is to feel again the closeness of kitchens where every gesture carried meaning. These 25 objects filled the kitchens of the 1950s with both utility and memory. From the gleam of Pyrex dishes to the hum of a stand mixer, from the simple wooden spoon to the apron tied with care, each tool carried stories that extended beyond its purpose. They were more than utensils. They were companions to family life, steady presences that shaped meals and marked moments. To revisit them now is to step once more into kitchens lit warmly, where love was measured in both effort and simplicity, and where even the humblest object became a witness to the timeless truth that home is built not only with walls, but with care.